Hey, so since last time we talked, we finished up our fundraising campaign, and one thing I want to talk about is having plans. Because if you don't have uh, kind of like follow up plans, then you're gonna panic sometimes because in the real world, films are really hard to make. I would say a lot of filmmakers would agree that a lot of newer filmmakers and a lot of aspiring filmmakers, some of the things that they kind of that they fall on are the idea that they need certain things, and ultimately you don't need a lot of things. I think we talked about it before how you just need a couple of things. You need an idea, a story, and you need characters. And everything else will kind of follow in its place. If you have what you have and you make with what you have, then what you have will become good. So, kind of like the mariachi, the legendary example of how they basically he had a turtle and a guitar case, and then he made a film. So, reason being, so we didn't make our fundraising goal. We got about halfway through, which honestly I was kind of expecting because I didn't have a crew to help me kind of look for opportunities to show more people about our campaign and all that stuff. So I had certain doubts, even though I tried hard to try to get to our goal. But that was just to make things easier. And as you know, I believe that filmmaking is hard because it is, and anything worth doing is hard. So, just because we didn't make our goal doesn't mean we're going to stop making the movie. The whole time I knew if we didn't make these goals, these are certain steps we'll be having so that the film will continue being made. And so far, even though we didn't get the funding that we were hoping for, we're still on track to start filming in January. We're going to be filming the last 2 weeks of January. Our locations are still clenched, and we have the opportunity to make the film, and we're going to take it because this film was made, written, and designed with the most minimal things possible. The core of the story are just two characters, so we don't have to worry about too many characters or needing a huge cast. Because in a friend of mine who I met at the Aiken Film Festival was very clear to me that, like, while you make low budget films, realize that your time is also part of that budget. So asking people to be and do things, that's part of a budget too. And so when we have less people to need to be in the film, then our budget goes lower in terms of like waiting for them, maybe rehearsals, or trying to make sure that everybody's on the same task. Because if we don't, then we risk the opportunity and the time of wasting everything that we're there for. Like, say we go on, we have rehearsals and then somebody doesn't show up, or we go to the scene and someone's late, someone's not prepared. They're all doing it on their own time, so the least you could do is feed them a little bit. So there's a lot of things to think about, and with designing this film, that's kind of what I kind of looked for. It's like, what can we do with the least amount of things possible? So then I start looking at films like the Before series, where there's just literally two people walking around a city or a setting, and then the setting kind of dictates like the mood, but it's just literally two people talking, which is the most fascinating thing and engrossing thing that they could have done. You plan around these things. You know that stuff is like this is going to happen. So, the classic thing to do is credit cards, which is, that's just part of it. I killed myself with the first one. I don't mind killing myself again with the second one. Credit cards are going to help out. Just give them out, baby. So I'm ready to use them. Actually, I've already used them because I could tell that our campaign wasn't going to make it. So we got the lenses we need, but that's all we're going to be using. So all the other things that we had in our campaign, we're not going to have. And that's just the product of it, which is fine. Because now we have this alternate plan that I've been working on, and now everything's just going to shift that way. And so far, still smooth sailing. Um, Besides that, rehearsals have been pretty fantastic. Hattie Smith has been just wonderful. She has a real good gut instinct, and that's the most you could ask for when working with an actor. Because sometimes you work with actors that do have a good instinct, but they'd rather default to what the director is asking for. But I encourage people to go with their gut, and so she's very trusting, and I trust in her, and I think it's really great that there's a lot of trust in terms of like, all right, so what are we talking about? What is the scene about? So we have some really good things. We're trying to speed things up in terms of like which scenes are necessary to rehearse and which ones aren't, because they're just either not really that important to look after, and we know we can nail them once we get there, or there's maybe a set priority of lists. So there. Besides that, not much else to update about Silhouette. I'm really excited that like now that I have one less thing to worry about, I can just like laser focus on what's going on. I know that I have the shot. I've been working on the shot list of the entire film, so what it's going to look like. And what I just did, or not what I just did, what I've been doing is I've been honing the kind of aesthetic style of it, and I feel pretty confident in what we've got going on. So now, finishing up the shot list, I'm having a bit of an easier time seeing the film in terms of like why this is the way that they are. Because you always have to ask that question when making an angle or saying why there's a close-up. It's not just to be cool, okay, guys? You can't just do things to be cool. There's got to be a reason. If you want to make like emotional filmmaking, that's my opinion. I don't know. There's this really great interview of Alejandro Inarritu. With I think it's called DP/30. I think that's the page, but it's him talking about Birdman, and it was real cool just to see him say a lot of the thoughts and theories that I've been having about filmmaking. The same thing about like how filmmakers should work with the feelings that they're having with their guts and not be afraid to approach them, which is kind of like a saying that I've always had. You got to work with what you're scared of, and that's usually your emotions. And then he also went on to say like just how there has to be precise reasons for all this stuff is going on. So I think that's cool. Same instincts, and I think everyone else should try to think about that, because a few filmmakers that I've met just do things just because they're cool, and that's not the type of filmmaking I want to make, and that's the type of filmmaking they want to make. So more power to them, but I feel like it's more precise and engrossing if there's reasons behind all that stuff. So anyway, that was just a sidetrack. I'm really excited. The last thing is that our composer emailed me recently and told me how he is really finding the groove for how the film is going to sound in terms of like the music. And in terms of our film, in general, I like very minimalist scores in films. I like where you just sit in the environment, and then every once in a while music kind of comes in, but it's very subtle and it just kind of adds to the emotional tension. So I like that. We've had many discussions about that, and he's in the same mind frame, but he's told me that he has created a lot of material to choose from, and that he's actually kind of excited, and he wants to see if he can do his kind of like an album that is inspired, that is music inspired by and from the film, which I'm really excited for him. If you haven't heard he goes by the name Near the Parentheses. He makes some really great post-rock music. He's got a ton of albums out, so I would recommend looking him up if you're into like that kind of moody music. It's not really moody, but it's like it's music that inspires you. So look him up, and then you'll have an idea of like where we're kind of coming from. But it's really exciting to see him get really inspired and kicked into hyperdrive because I know I have. I am lacking sleep. That's for sure. Work, movie, then maybe sleep if I can find time for it. So luckily, I also work at a coffee shop, so there is many of those. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's not going to be cut out and used as something else. But I'm excited. I just had coffee, which is why I'm talking real fast. Anyway, I'll see if I can update later, but talk to you guys soon.